Right guys, good morning, good afternoon or good evening. So today we're looking at this lesson, do cities have personalities? Okay, so this is a listening to lesson, this is in unit 2, and this lesson follows on from the pace of a place. Okay, so quite an interesting lecture that. And the skills focus, let's remind ourselves. Not sure what the skills focus was in there, but quite an interesting lecture, that one. Right, okay, so do cities have personalities? All right, so maybe you want to give that question some thought before we start doing anything else. Let's go have a look at the lead-in. Some questions to get us engaged about the topic. You'll find this on your course page. Okay, does the city where you live suit your personality? Why or why not? Okay, so if the city is very busy, are you a busy person? So we would say that that suits your personality. Do you think that people with similar personalities choose to live in the same place? Yes or no? Why not? What city in the world? Okay, and try to think of a city not in Turkey. What city in the world would you like to live in one day and why? Okay, so some questions for you to think about. You don't have to write your answers anywhere. Just think about them. Use Google to help you learn about some cities that maybe you would like to live in. Pause this video and then come back and we will listen. We will work through the lesson together. Okay. So personally, do I think the city where I live suits my personality? Well, Kayseri is where I live. I don't know much about the personality of Kayseri. But where I live certainly does suit me quite nicely. Do you think people of similar personalities choose to live in the same place? They probably do, but maybe that's more because of work, yeah? Maybe, I mean, you look at like Silicon Valley in the United States. You get a lot of people who live and work in Silicon Valley who are very similar personalities, very similar interests. So maybe they live in the same place because of their job, yeah? What city in the world would you like to live in one day? Well, my wife and I would like to live in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia one day. It's a very beautiful city. We've been there many times. We really like the mix of cultures and we like the interesting food that we can find there. Right, okay, so hopefully you had to think about those questions for yourself. Now let's head over to our booklet. We're looking around page 94. Listen to the discussions and answer the questions. Well, some of these aren't questions, okay? So describe people who like living in a big city. Describe people who like living in a small city. Yeah? What kind of people would prefer to live outside the city centre, okay? So let's listen to this together. We can head over to our Schoology. This is our lesson, Unit 2, Do Cities Have Personalities? And this is just quite a short audio, so we'll listen to this one together.
The Unit 8 question is, what do our cities say about us? So let's talk about this city. How would you describe it? Big or small? Noisy or quiet? Relaxed or exciting? Yuna.
It's big, noisy, and exciting.
Do you like living here?
Yes.
Okay, Yuna likes living here. What does that say about her? What kind of people like living in a city like this? Marcus?
We like excitement. We like to see lots of different kinds of people and eat different kinds of food. We like to go out a lot.
And what about people who choose to live in a small town? What does their city say about them?
They like things to be quiet. They like to know their neighbors and not be surrounded by strangers all of the time.
But there are some other kinds of differences among cities besides size. What else do our cities say about us?
Well, in this city, everything is close together and people walk around a lot. I think people here have a lot of energy. In some cities, People mostly live in the suburbs and drive, so they're more slow moving and less energetic. Maybe they're more relaxed. I guess it depends on your point of view.
Okay, so I don't think we need to listen to that again. If you do need to listen to that again, the audio is on your school page, is on your Schoology page. This is the file name here, classroom discussion. Okay. So if you need to listen again, pause this video and come back because we're going to talk about this now. So people who like living in a big city, I wrote down people that like excitement, people who like being around lots of other people, people who like different food, and people who are on the go a lot. People who like living in a small city, people who are quiet, people who like to know their neighbours, and what kind of people would prefer to live outside the city centre. So outside the city centre, so this is the suburbs, yeah. So people who are more relaxed. So maybe you got some of that, maybe you got some additional answers as well that I didn't also write down. Right, okay, so now we're going to listen to a report about Professor Richard Florida's ideas on why people choose to live where they do. Read the statements and write true or false. Okay, so before we listen, we need to read these statements, we need to think about them. Okay, so Richard Florida thinks it doesn't matter where you live. Okay, so he thinks it doesn't matter. So before we listen, we need to read the statements. It'll help us. Richard Florida thinks that choosing where you live may be the most important decision you make. I think that's probably true. I think he's probably going to say that. This one, I think he's probably going to say that's false. People with similar personalities often live in the same city. I think he's probably going to say that's true. Creative people are not more likely to live in one place over another. Creative people are not more likely to live in one place over another. Okay, I need to listen to that. Changes in the economy may influence where people live. I think that's probably true. The patterns that Richard Florida talks about are only in the United States. Maybe. Right, okay, so I've read the statements. I understand a little bit about the statements. I've made some predictions about the statements. Now I'm ready to listen. So this audio I can find also on my Schoology course page. I have a media album on my course page, and in that media album I have an audio here, Do Cities Have Personalities? 4 minutes 46 seconds. Okay, so we're not going to listen to this together. What I want you to do is pause this video, go off and listen to that audio by yourself, and then come back and we will check these answers together. Okay. Right, okay, so let's look at these answers together. So Richard Florida thinks it doesn't matter where you live. No. He says the place. The decision about where you live may be one of the most important that you make. Okay, so he says that very clearly. So this is false. Yeah, this is false and this is true, because these are two different sides of the same statement. So it's, number one is false, number two is true. People with similar personalities often live in the same city. Florida thinks that people tend to collect in certain cities, yeah? Even depending on the personality that they have. It's a little bit confusing. His name is Florida, and he's talking about cities. Now, Florida, of course, is a state in the United States. It's not a city, but it is a state. It's a little bit confusing seeing Florida along with all of these city names. Yeah, so Florida is the professor's name, and then he talks about a lot of cities. It's a little bit confusing. But yes, he thinks that people might live in the same city. Creative people are not more likely to live in one place over another. Why are some cities centers of creativity while others are more likely to focus on producing things? Da, 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 da. Okay, so he gives lots of examples here of why creative people are more likely to live in one place. Yeah, so this is false because the statement here is are not more likely. They are more likely to live in one place. Yeah, centers for innovation, areas where they can go and play sports together. Yeah. So they are more likely to live in one place. Changes in the economy may influence where people live. Bad economic times can cause shifts in cities. Financial centres can become less important and other parts can become more important. Yeah, so changes in the economy may influence where people live. That's true. The patterns that Richard Florida talks about are only in the United States. Well, no, we can see that that's not true because he talks about Seoul, he talks about Sydney in Australia, he talks about Dublin City, Toronto in Canada, New Zealand. Yeah, so he's not just talking about the United States. No. Right. Okay. So listen again. Match the city or the group of cities with the kind of work that is known according to the report. Okay. So again, we're not going to listen here. Pause this video, go and listen, and come back, and we will check together. Okay. So Boston, San Francisco and Seoul lead the way in technology and innovation. Okay, so that's D. Atlanta. Many people in these cities are in sales or jobs that deal with people directly, so that's sales. Chicago. Most technology companies are in or near these centers of creativity. People in Chicago or Sydney tend to be much more social. Many people in these cities People in cities like Chicago tend to be much more social. Many people in these cities are in sales. Okay, right, so let's change this then. So Atlanta, yeah, so here we go. In cities like Atlanta or Pittsburgh, important for manufacturing, yeah, so sorry, my mistake. So Atlanta is all about manufacturing, Chicago is all about sales. Los Angeles, Wellington, New Zealand. Produce quality films. Okay, so film production. London, New York, and Hong Kong. It's all about finance. And Guadalajara and Shanghai. Let's check. Are known primarily for manufacturing as well. Yeah, so now manufacturing is an answer that we've already had, so let's double check this. So here, Atlanta or Pittsburgh, manufacturing, but then it goes into more detail, yes? Then it talks more about auto companies. German and Japanese auto companies are located in these areas. So Atlanta is all about automobile production. So let's recap, yeah? So Boston, San Francisco, and Seoul. So that's all about technology. Atlanta, automobile production. Chicago, sales. Los Angeles and Wellington, it's all about film production. London, New York, and Hong Kong is all about finance. And the last two are about manufacturing. Okay. Well, so not the most straightforward, but we get there. We get there in the end. Okay, and what's left in this lesson is a dictation. Okay, so you can play the dictation on your course page. So please do that. It's 2 minutes, 14 seconds. Please play the dictation, listen and write your answers here, and then come back and I'll give you the answers, and then we are finished. Okay, so here's the answer to your dictation. People tend to collect in certain cities. Why are some cities centres of creativity? They like high levels of activity. Bad economic times can cause different shifts. And who's your city? Okay. Right, do use the tape script. Okay, the tape script is on Schoology here for you. If there's any difficult vocabulary in this tape script for you, then please use your dictionary to better understand that. Okay. In the next lesson, you might focus on the growth of cities with your instructor. Okay. All right, well, I hope this has been useful. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next lesson.